Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So this is going to be day one of my series of what we call building in public. It's basically a series or a trend that's going on in on Twitter or X. But a lot of operators or entrepreneurs, CEO, is pretty much expressing and being open about their journey when it comes to building a business, showing their numbers, economics behind it, their hardships, lessons, and then just sharing that publicly. Right, I totally believe in transparency, and it definitely keeps me accountable. The way that I look at it is sort of like a little diary, and something that I can also look back to when I get older, something that I can possibly give to my kids one day. So yeah, with that being said, agenda for today is we'll go over the end of the month revenue for October, dive into sort of like some economics when it comes to that. We'll also evaluate my do a quick audit of my Google Calendar just for my own understanding and see how I structure my day and what I can do better moving forward. And then any business lessons from the entire month, main focus and drivers leading into next month, what I should be focusing on, and then any updates on personal life. So with that being said, let's head over. Actually, yeah. So end of month revenue, cash collected, and revenue for last month. Let me pull it up. So we did 104,500 in cash collected, 104,500 in cash collected. Revenue on that is probably anywhere between 123 or 124. So 124,000 revenue, 104,000 cash collected. We got, you know, actually a few chargebacks, which is not great. 2.77% is chargeback. So we're trying to fix that problem right now. Seems like our customer support team is just not answering any of our refund requests. So that will lead to chargeback, and then that's something to be mindful of because if you're not processing as much payment and your chargeback percentage is high, then that will automatically, you know, um, affect your merchant processing account and start holding reserve. And that's what happened to us when we were scaling pretty hard using Stripe back then. And then ever since we moved to a different processor. But with Stripe, they were taking 10% and even 15% reserve sometimes, and that ate into our margins, right? So just think of like for every dollar that you collect in your business, if you're a merchant processor, it takes like 10 cents of that, right? That's, you know, 10% of your margins right there gone. Poof, reserved for 90 days. Overhead is not bad. Seems like we lower some of our, overhead expenses. Um, Payroll is not as bad, right? I was able to come up with a new comp structure, more performance based. So with the employees, or then as well as hiring two new employees, but we kind of like prorate their salary since they joined like sort of like last week, right? And then I change up the comp structure where it will make sense overall in the business. So obviously if you perform and you drive, your the responsibilities drive more revenue, then you're going to get compensated based on that, right? So it's more like a risk-free model. It's like if you don't perform, then you don't get paid, basically, right? But there's also some good incentives and bonuses that comes with hitting those targets or KPIs, as a team, as department, as a each individual department, as a company as a whole, how the month performs. But yeah, that's it. And then I think our biggest expense is marketing. That accounts for pretty much 38% of our cash for last month. And typically a good range would be anywhere between 20 to 25%. I mean, 30 to 40% is aggressively scale mode, right? Where you're dumping a lot of money back into marketing, testing, getting data, revising, right? So that's essentially what we're on. We we started this new department, new offer a couple months ago, and it's been scaling pretty rapidly. We're definitely only just break even for now. I mean, if our closing percentage for that department went up from you know, our closing percentage were bad for that new offer department, right? I think last in October we were doing like 5%. Um, yeah, 5% closing rate, which also the percentage was skewed because a lot of the leads, majority of them were unqualified. So the way that we sort of like come up with these new KPIs is the closing percentage based on how many you close out of the leads that you spoke with. Those leads have to fall under what we call MQL, so qualified leads. And we had a meeting, a marketing as a sales meeting about that, and what quantifies as a MQL. MQL is we decided to implement what we call a rating system, right? If the following lead answers certain questions in the form prior to booking a call, or they watch a certain percentage of the course, or all of or read certain percentage of the email, then we would rate them as, let's just say, the uh, most qualified lead is a tier five. You will rate them as a tier five if they hit those parameters, right? If they're someone that haven't really logged into their account or access any of those videos, or give very vague answers on the booking form prior to scheduling the call, then that's where it's quantified as a rating one prospect, where we don't count that towards a, like a qualified lead in that case, right? So it's the way that you sort of like analyze your data, and also making sure that you're analyzing correctly, that the sales and the marketing team both agreed on it, right? So again, the reason why the closing percentage was low, is because we treated every lead that the closer were speaking with as a qualified lead. But in reality, based on us doing call reviews, we actually watch and review the Zoom calls. A lot of them are pretty unqualified, right? They're not turning on their camera. They don't even understand exactly what this booking is about, right? So that's where we sort of like develop different initiatives and a better approach behind that, right? So this month we're project to try to bump that percentage up from like 6% upwards to 25%, and then adding that rating system in place, and then making sure that we can quantify and make use of the closer's time to make sure that he's effectively, setting his own needs, and, um, you know, making sure that we're framing everything correctly prior to the leads hopping on the call, right? So that's one of the biggest, lessons that we learn, is just really learning how to analyze data. I mean, we track everything. With this new department, I just took all of the mistakes and everything that I learned from running the other department that we have, the funding department, and just make sure that we keep our team lean. Number one, on the other department, making sure that I hire talent and they're experts at exactly what they do, and they just go above and beyond. Give me your 110%. They're absolutely talented people. Love working with them, right? So communication is also intact. I think that's the biggest part. And culture, value wise, is also a big one. That's also a big thing I look at when it comes to team members in that department. But aside from that, our first department, which is the funding department, hired two different success managers, right? So each success manager should take over 22 different units. The way that we quantify units is accounts, right? Each client that we have counts as one account. So that capacity, he should even try to hit like 40 or 50 units, as long as we streamline a lot of the processes. So what I've been doing over the past last month is really double downing on creating those SOPs, having everything intact, making sure that I do training with the team members. It's less so about like, speaking with clients or spending my time doing customer service, or and really focus a lot of my effort and time on strategies. Number one, training the team, and then creating systems to effectively help the team be efficient in what they do by following our processes, our SOPs, and then making sure that we document everything and make sure that is stored in a library where it's without having to without having to bother you all the time, right? So with that being said, let's kind of like dive into my calendar now. Okay. Okay, cool. Now I have my screen share. Let me just open this. Okay, cool. Awesome. So we're looking at week one of my October calendar. As you can see, on Monday, team payroll, luckily I have my executive assistant that take care of that for me. I just set a reminder for both me and her for her to send confirmation. So I would try to wake up at 7:45, and 7 to 7:45. I would take a shower, get ready, go for a walk, or try to read a little bit before starting the day. Typically, I would have recurring meetings with one of my other partner, but recently he's just been traveling a lot, and not I wouldn't say business partner, but just like partnership partner in this case. So we've been canceling the meeting, and then every week meeting I meet with my executive assistant just to go over any numbers from last week or any payroll, any personal tasks or business stuff that I need help with. And then basically I start going into my calls, right? So I have a couple onboarding calls, one onboarding call, one sales call, and then we have our all hands meeting, which is basically everyone in the first department just hops on, um, and the funding department hops on, and we discuss about weekly initiatives, sales calls for last week, and then any updated status for certain clients, any AR that's about to come for this week to get collected on. And yeah, sometimes I would just block off the remainder of the day to either do deep work. Value creation is like, yeah, typically I would just film videos and whatnot, and then sometimes I get like bookings towards the end of the day, right? Gym, yeah, I don't know. I think gym, typically I didn't update this, but sometimes gym is set as a recurrent everyday event from 11:30 to 12:45. But sometimes my meeting goes longer. Sometimes I'm in the flow, so I decided to delay gym till like 2:30, or even sometimes around like 4:30, around that time, right? Cool. So next week, so yeah, this week was pretty chill. Aside from like just a few calls every day, and then sales and marketing meeting, and then training the sales team or training my new employees. I don't have much, which is good, right? Which is definitely good. Um, yeah, definitely good because my team is helping out a lot, and I'm more focused on strategy. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I should have definitely focused more time in deep work, right? Out of the entire week, I only spent 2 days of deep work. And in between these 2 days, I also have meetings in between. So it messes up my flow and I can't really do deep work. Um, yeah, I'm probably doing like 50% deep work, which is I'm half distracted, half like trying to work, right? Which is not the best use of my time. So what I would do moving forward um, for this month. But again, I'm going to Japan in like a couple of days. But after coming back from Japan, I'm still going to be filming these videos, doing my best. I'm probably going to, yeah, block off 2 days out of the week where I don't take any meetings in the morning. I might need to structure my meetings a little bit differently. Because I want to spend the moment that I wake up, I want to start focusing on just deep work. No interruption, no distraction, no one hitting me up on Slack or sending me email or even checking my email because that throws you off, and just go straight to work for 4 hours. Because if I can work for 4 hours in the morning, right, that would be the equivalent of me working like 8 hours this week right over here, where half of the time that I'm doing deep work is not even productive, right? So you can see the way that you structure your deep work in the morning with no distraction, no interruption, and delay all of your meetings till next day, or structure all of your meetings into like Wednesday, for example, and then just have Tuesday where you don't take any meetings, right, until maybe like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, right? Or just no meetings at all. It will just train you to be more efficient with optimizing your processes for the team, and also to getting shit done earlier in the week so you don't have to worry as much, right? That's good. That's again why we do quick audits like this on your calendar, because your calendar sums up your entire life and your habits and how you spend your time. How you spend your time is the equivalent of where and why you are. Where you spend your time is exactly what got you here today. And that's the quality of your life that you have today. There you go. Right. if half of the time that you spend on a Monday is playing games and you complain about why you're not, making money, pull up your calendar. That's exactly why. You want to know what's the quality of someone's life, ask them to show you their calendar, right? So yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do. On the personal side, definitely want to add a little bit more hobbies into this, right? So as you can see, I think I played pickleball this week. No, I play pickleball next week. Yeah, I play pickleball. No, maybe I play pickleball. Yeah, I play pickleball with my friend. Yeah, probably play. Okay, yeah, I played pickleball only once last month, which is bad because I try to do it every once every week, right? But last month was just so busy, and again, I can't use that as an excuse, right? It's all about time management and what I'm focused on, right? Obviously, if I'm busy, yeah, how do you quantify busy, right? Are you busy with taking meetings or, you know, doing activities that are not going to move the needle of the business, right? Or are you busy in terms of like, hey, you're constantly working on something that has the highest leverage behind those activities, like strategy session, training your team, writing out SOPs, partnerships, right? Hiring, recruiting people. Those are what I classify as high activities. Doing sales calls sometimes, right? Or doing call reviews with your closers, because if you can obviously give them the best framework to close these people, then you can leverage, you have that leverage. You're training someone to become you, right? So yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like there are days where, and it's kind of bad too, just to be completely transparent, because I've been taking Addy a lot recently. So yeah, I would just be wired to the tits most part. So I'm trying to like move away from like taking Addy and drinking too much caffeine. Um, yeah, what helps is I chew nicotine gum. Yeah, yeah. But the thing is, typically on the weekends too, I will pile up all of the tasks that I don't want to do for the week until like the Saturday, and then sometimes I don't even do it on Saturday. And I'll pile it into Sunday, and sometimes I forget about it because when you open up your calendar, you can only see it from last week Sunday to this week Saturday, right? So if it comes to the new Sunday, I'm just like, oh shit, do I even have anything to do today? And then unless I go back to this, yeah, and yeah, yeah, if that makes sense. Cool, yeah, pay my taxes, which is good. Been dealing that a little bit. But aside from that, yeah, a lot of one-on-one calls, a lot of onboarding calls. Onboarding should something be yeah, should be delegated as soon as possible, but also keep in mind this is a new department, so I'm collecting data and I'm also making sure that we have a dialed in process on the way that we structure these onboarding calls. So based off of those, examples and recordings that I do, the volume and the numbers of onboarding calls that I do, now I can train or hire someone to take over that and use that as training materials for them, right? So yeah, and then so funny. This guy has a really good follow up. So Plot, if you guys don't know, is a banking software. I met him at a business lending broker conference, and I wasn't even that interested, but he got my email, my phone number. Great follow up game. Call me, texted me like maybe once every 2 days, and then just out of the blue, he just invited me to this meeting, right? Which obviously I didn't accept because I wasn't interested. But yeah, props to you. Props to the Plot team. Yeah. So yeah, moving forward, definitely a little bit more structure. As you guys can see on Wednesday in 2 days, I'm gonna be leaving to Tokyo until the 17th, right? So I make sure to let my team know a couple weeks ahead of time. Make sure I document and create as much, materials or training for them as possible. Do any audits on, funding game plans, for our clients ahead of time. And tomorrow I'm just going to be spending a little bit more time with them just to prepare for my departure. But it's good. That's something that I also recommend for a lot of business owners is like, you don't know how well your business performs without you until you start taking a vacation. Because the moment that you're away from the business and, you're you're testing the thing that you built and see if that can run without you, basically, right? And your job is to make sure that you're building a machine, assemble a machine that is so powerful, so self-efficient that it doesn't require your presence tied to it. And that's where you build enterprise value, and that's where you have greater multiples when you try to exit a business, right? So yeah, that's the idea behind it. I look at it as kind of like, hey, dude, I probably will find a lot of bottlenecks the moment I'm gone. Maybe there's certain approvals that's needed since I'm an executive, right? While I'm not there, do I give that approval to the next seniority level, right, of the company, right? Who do they go to in terms of the chain of commands? I think that's a big part. Who do they go to? How can they start thinking on their own or solving problems on their own without relying on asking questions or asking me questions all the time, right? So teaching your employees how to be self-reliant, knowing who the chain of command is if one party is not available, that is pretty good. And I didn't even thought about that until now. So that's why, again, doing these reflections are so powerful for you guys. All right. Cool. Yeah, business lesson already shared. It's more tactical, but overall, training the team, recruiting, talent, making sure you do everything with integrity that will attract talent over time, right? Um, yeah, I mean, a lot of tactical lessons for sure. Got to be more system focused, building automations, leveraging Zapier a lot more. Yeah. And then just giving, like, everyone have their zone of genius, especially A players, semi B players in the company. Just let them do what they think is the best in the role and responsibility. You don't have to micromanage, right? I think it just makes everyone's life a lot easier. That's a big one. Yeah, so main focus and drivers leading into next month. Honestly, like, I feel extremely burnt out. I can still, we're still in the testing phase. Right now, election is happening for the past week, so CPM's been pretty high, cost per impression. So yeah, for ads it's pretty high, so we scale down our ads by like 60-70%. Last month we were doing anywhere between like 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 thousand, 200, 1,400 a day on ads. And overall in the front end it wasn't profitable, but in the back end we're able to convert a few deals as well, which brought us to break even, right? Which I don't really mind. Obviously we can't, it's all about learning, right? It's all about revising, getting the data as quickly as possible, paying for that data, understanding feedback, making sure you have a feedback loop in place, right? So what I learned is, before issuing any sort of refunds, like, maybe ask the customer ahead of time before before confirming the before issuing the refund. Ask them, what's the reason why you guys are requesting a refund, and then that's where you get really tangible, good data to work off of, which helps you, improve the product over time and help you lower your refund rate. Um, also gauging any, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot that I learned in the past couple months when it comes to this new department and this new offer that we're pushing. So I'm super excited. Personal life, I wish I definitely spent more time. Um, I think last month I didn't hit the gym as much. I can only hit the gym like maybe 3.5 days out of the entire week. Um, by half, I mean like half workout type of days, right? Which is like, I don't really want to go, but I'll go, but I'll do half a workout in a sense. I usually average 6 days a week working out, but after my marathon, I did a half marathon a month ago. Oh yeah, actually last month I did a marathon. I did a half marathon. That was pretty good. I just got lazy afterwards, right? So yeah, I'm planning to do another marathon soon, but I have to start looking. My goal is to do a marathon in Geneva. Yeah, I think one of my buddies is doing it in there, so might hit him up for that. But yeah, I mean, last month it's mainly just focused on building. A lot of time in the business, haven't really gone out as much. Went to a Halloween party, did some pickleball, went out, watched movies with my girlfriend. But that's basically it, right? So I mean, moving forward. There's more to life than just business. That's what I learned. It's like, cool, I'm learning a lot, but I need to manage my time properly. And the way that you manage your time properly is being really selective on certain activities that you do, making sure they're high leverage, that regardless of you doing it or not doing it, I mean, picking the right and being selective on those activities, um, in terms of whether it leverage and brings in a pretty good outcome or results, right? As compared to doing one off type of activities where it doesn't really translate to the growth, right? It's more like, hey, this one off activities will solve this problem in the present time, but most likely will come back in the future, as compared to activity that you focus in the present time that will help you solve all of those problems in the near future as well, right? So the way that I look at it is like, hey, you can be the one to take an onboarding call, or you can be the one to answer this customer support, or you can be the one to create a standard operating process and train your team, spending that same equivalent hour on how to deal with customer support. Now, which one has the most leverage behind it? Obviously, the second option, because you're teaching someone, you're documenting this process, and that person takes it over. Now, that responsibility gets passed on to them, buys you back time, and you focus on the next move, right? It's how fast you're able to delegate things that doesn't really matter. And the game of the business is knowing which does matter and which doesn't matter, which to delegate and what not to delegate. Okay, so with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you guys in day two.